if the Democrats want to do anything in 2018, 2020, they need to get their heads out of their asses and start working right now. You'll note that in 2010, 2012, actually more 2012 than 2010, the Republicans turned around after the presidential election and came out with their quote-unquote autopsy report. Now, they really didn't listen to it all that much, and since Donald Trump got elected, obviously it really didn't matter all that much. And the reason why it didn't matter all that much was because of the Democrats. The Democrats from 2008 to 2016 have lost tons of state legislatures, governorships, positions in the House of Representatives, positions in the Senate, and now finally the presidency. All that occurred while President Obama was the head of the Democratic Party. And his poor choices in picking Tim Kaine in 2008 to replace the former DNC head, and in turn, after the Democrats got their asses kicked in 2010, replacing Tim Kaine with Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who will go down in history as one of the worst choices that the Democrats have picked for the head of the DNC, more than likely in history, basically points to the fact that Barack Obama was asleep at the switch. He wasn't paying attention to the things that he should have been paying attention to. And obviously, you know, he's president of the United States, so he's got a lot of stuff on his plate. But at the same time, he wasn't paying attention to his own Democratic Party. And now, at this point in time, we're basically a month and change out of the election. Both he and the Democrats don't know what the hell they're going to do going forward, okay? Donald Trump has got to be one of the worst nominees, and hence now president-elects in the history of the country as far as his approval rating is concerned. He is basically underwater, way underwater. I believe his approval rating is somewhere around 40 to 42%, which is a historic low. That being said, if this guy got elected, the person that you put up there had to be either totally unacceptable to the electorate, or basically just ignore the electorate. Now, in my opinion, the Democrats basically ignored the people that they were supposed to represent. They basically campaigned, this is Hillary Clinton now, she didn't campaign where she needed to. She needed to make sure that she had Michigan locked down. She needed to make sure that she had Wisconsin locked down. She needed to make sure that she had Pennsylvania locked down. Now, Ohio is quote-unquote a swing state, so it would have been more than helpful for her to get in there and fight for Ohio. But in my opinion, she gave up Ohio a long time ago. Florida is another area that she should have had a significant shot at winning, especially given the fact that there was a huge increase in the number of Democratic registrations for the election. Her overconfidence and lack of attention to the areas that she should have been attending to basically led to her downfall. So now that she is no longer a factor, and she's not, what are the Democrats going to do? What is their plan of action? I believe this particular segment done on MSNBC points out a lot of the inequities and lack of direction of the Democratic Party at this point in time. Now, that could all change after the election of the new DNC in February. In my opinion, Barack Obama should not be included, as far as his opinion is concerned, in this particular race, only because it was he, and not he alone, but more so he and his choices that have led to this debacle. Here's the clip from MSNBC.
With President Obama getting ready for his final couple of weeks in office, the two-term president leaves behind a legacy partly of big state and municipal electoral losses over the last 8 years. President Obama now quietly supporting a Democratic redistricting project led by former Attorney General Eric Holder. And new data from this most recent election shows Dems will have to put up a fight if they want to win back seats in 2018. Breaking it all down now is Dave Weigel, national political correspondent for the Washington Post. Dave, listen, look at what's happened under President Obama. You know this data. Let's pull it up on screen. Since 2008, Democrats have lost 900-plus state legislative seats, 27 state legislative chambers, 12 governorships, 62 House seats, 11 Senate seats. Talk us through this new data that paints an even more bleak picture for Democrats.
Well, there are 15 districts we know of already. That's not counting Texas and a couple other states where we're still crunching numbers on. 15 districts that voted for Barack Obama twice, voted for John Kerry, voted Democratic, and voted for Trump this time, sometimes by big numbers. And they were in rural areas. You know, Trump supporters who are angry that he didn't win the popular vote love to point this giant map of how many counties he won. You might not think that matters. It does in a lot of ways. It does when it comes to how the House is drawn, because in states Republicans won in 2010, they drew maps that kind of were slanted towards rural districts. Even in states like Minnesota and Iowa, rural voters basically control who goes to Congress. Democrats got wiped out there. They gained some ground in California and Arizona, probably gained some ground in Texas and Florida, but they had a clear path to just winning the seats where Barack Obama won in 2012. That would have gotten them a House majority. That's no longer the case.
Right. So does that speak to you, though, to more of a philosophical issue here, the fact that Donald Trump was able to come in and pick up these areas that Barack Obama had previously won?
Well, that's the interesting thing about the Democrats' debate right now, because there really is no debate about how the parties change ideologically. No one is criticizing any part of the platform that the party passed in 2016, which was very progressive. It is more about whether they're talking to voters who Donald Trump won. There's a belief, I think, based on some exit polling that's pretty strong, that voters who basically agreed with Democrats on economics feel disconnected from the Clinton neoliberal version of that party and didn't vote for them this time, stayed home, or voted for Donald Trump. There's a sense that there is a majority in the country. There was a majority for Hillary Clinton. There should be a majority in some rural places that they lost that can come back in 2018, but they need to build through grassroots work. And actually, you started the segment by talking about President Obama and Eric Holder. One thing I find with a lot of grassroots Democrats and state parties, they point out that Barack Obama not just was presiding over losses, but didn't seem to care about the lack of work the DNC was doing for the last few years. 5 years of turmoil and tumult under Debbie Wasserman Schultz. The president didn't really seem to mind. The decline of state parties, the rise of OFA competing with DNC. It's not clear that Barack Obama, who was a community organizer, as Republicans love to point out, knew how to organize at this level once he was president. So it's other Democrats who are kind of taking the reins there.
Yeah, as I stated, Obama made two bad choices, Tim Kaine and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and he was asleep at the switch. He wasn't paying any attention to what was going on. That 2010 election alone should have woke him up as far as 2012 was concerned. But he basically was just looking out for himself and not looking out for the Democratic Party. If he had been looking out for the party, he would have been up Debbie Wasserman Schultz's ass about going into the various state races, and congressional races, okay, and local races to try to recover the losses that they suffered in 2010. But none of that happened.
Okay, so flash forward then a couple of years. By 2018, Democrats will have to defend 10 seats in states that Donald Trump won. We're going to pull them up on screen here. You can see them. So when it comes to these big votes that we expect to see coming up in Congress, for example, repeal of the Affordable Care Act, etc., what is the calculus going to be for the lawmakers in these places?
Well, there are different kinds of Trump states. There are states like West Virginia, North Dakota, and Montana where Democrats are up on the ballot and Donald Trump won very strongly. West Virginia, Joe Manchin's already trying to find a way to be accommodating to Trump where he can. But then there are states like not just Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, which flipped a little bit this time. States like Missouri, where Clyde McCaskill was from, where Donald Trump won, but most voters viewed him negatively. In Missouri, he won that state by what you could probably call a landslide. Only 46% of voters there viewed him positively. Pennsylvania, 41. In Wisconsin, it was under 40% of voters liked him. So what Democrats are still wrestling through, and I can't, talking to them every day, I can't overstate how shell-shocked they are and how they are not quite sure what the new reality is. They're not especially worried about Donald Trump being popular. The strategy, even if it involves letting him get his way on issues that divide Republicans, if he is as unpopular today, in 2018 as he was in 2016, and they're running individual races, not running Hillary Clinton's race, they're fairly optimistic right now in a way that I think they have a right to be. There's no precedent for somebody this unpopular, this disliked, becoming president while losing seats in Congress. They're in, so they see the basics of a good political position in 2018. They're just not sure how to get there.
Dave Weigel, national political correspondent for the Washington Post, diving into the data for us there, and not just in his favorite place on earth, crucial Waukesha County. Dave.
All right, so lest the Democrats get their heads out of their asses, come up with a game plan, and in that game plan, getting back to the people, okay, getting away from the donors on the East Coast and the West Coast, and actually making new connections with the people. They're not going anywhere in 2018, and damn sure not in 2020.